Hello everyone, welcome to your TOEFL Speaking Question for Masterclass. Joseph from NoteFull here. So happy Saturday morning for everyone joining us live and for everyone watching this recording. Hello. So what we're going to do today is we're going to cover the structure of question 4 very quickly for new students and for students who haven't taken the TOEFL in some time. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do a nice practice that shows us the structure of the TOEFL. And one thing that I think is really cool is an exercise that'll give you infinite practice. So in other words, when you're searching for TOEFL Speaking Question for practice questions, you can find them online. But with today's exercise, you can use them, but you'll recognize that you don't need them to make a big improvement. So I want to say hello to everybody joining us. I see all the students waving, want to wave back. Whenever we begin a class, I always like to say some hellos. So Tikhan, hello. Marina, hello. Mehdi, welcome. Happy to be with you. Happy you're here. Way Dohamdi, hello. Ophelia, hello. Mares. Great to be with you all. So I'm going to go ahead, begin the lesson, make it open. You can ask your questions. I want to make sure you feel 100%. And let's go ahead and dive into question number 4. So question number 4, the TOEFL Speaking, is the last question you get. And in this question, you hear a lecture from a professor. And the lecture introduces a topic. And let's say the topic, what I want to do is interact with you. So what do you think a likely topic is? We know they're academic, they're focused on animal communication, plant biology, business, psychology. So go ahead and text me. Let me know what's a possible topic the professor might introduce in question 4. What might we hear a lecture about? So we hear the lecture, we have our scratch paper or our whiteboard. Hello everybody. We get to take our notes. What's it going to be about? Hello, Danny. Hossein, hello. Alaldin, hello. Hope I'm pronouncing your names correctly. If not, I apologize. Riali Baba. Gita, Nish. So let's see if we get somebody. Business. Great. So what specifically about business? Maybe we could say there are 2 types of businesses. So the professor introduces business companies, right? The type of companies that exist. And then the professor will say there are 2 kinds, right? So we're going to talk about business, the kinds of businesses that exist. They have to form a specific structure in order to exist in the United States. And then the professor will say there are 2 types of business structures. So the first structure, the professor will give a name to, and it's likely that you won't have heard this name. So you want to be very comfortable with new information, keywords you haven't heard before. A lot of students get a little bit stressed, so it's okay if you just write down how you hear it, even if it's a new word, and you don't know exactly how to pronounce it well. Because even if you try, it's worth it. And if you don't get the key word, you can just say, the first kind of business. Something that's easy, that shows that you understood, and then you can go on with the information. So let's say the professor says the first type of business is a corporation. And this is where a company has to file certain legal documents, and it establishes the company as its own entity. So you get a general description, right? Here's the first type, here's what it works as. And it's usually a simpler definition, just 1 or 2 qualities that classify it as the first type. So we'll say the corporation exists as a legal entity all by itself. And then the professor will transition into an example. And the example is a simple illustration of what you just heard. So what did I say is the quality of a corporation? I'll repeat it. It's a legal entity that exists all by itself. It's a legal entity that exists all by itself. So what do we have to say? We have to say that, right? So text me in the chat as well, right in the comments. What is a corporation according to this little mini lecture? just to make sure that we're interacting. I think it's fun. You got your phone, you're learning. So let me know. Let me know in the chat. What did we just say was a corporation? Sidad, welcome. Raksha, welcome. Oh, TOEFL Prime, hello. Hello, TOEFL Success. Welcome. Harjin, Mahesh, Heba. And usually it takes a little bit of time. Want to be fast with our phones. So what did we say the first type of business was? It was a corporation. What did we define it as? Do you remember, everybody? This is where you show me your understanding, and it's good because I want to get you involved. So I'll repeat it. It's a legal entity that can exist on its own. So, Wado, the question number 4 topic will vary. It doesn't always have to be about business. And Kabir, good luck on your TOEFL. Let's see. So, legal entity on our own. Maybe that's a little bit of a tricky topic. So the interesting thing is the example will illustrate it. So the example to illustrate that will show the quality. So the professor might give an example. For example, if a corporation, let's say, loses money and goes out of business because it's its own legal entity, it exists by itself, the owners can't be sued, right? Because it's the business itself that lost money, went bankrupt. So that means that that's the person responsible, that business, that corporation. So the professor will illustrate with the example that quality. Now the second type of business, so that's the next thing that the professor transitions to, is, we'll say, a sole proprietorship. So again, this is likely going to be a word you're unfamiliar with. You want to be totally comfortable. You want to take notes on it, even if you don't know the word, so that you can explain it and sound it out. Because even if it's inaccurate, the professors are going to be okay with that. The graders are going to be okay with that. It's your overall answer that matters. It's being on time. It's being structured. It's having clear, smooth explanation from beginning to end. That's the key to raise your score. So the sole proprietorship, again, you're going to learn a quality that makes it unique, that makes it different, a different way, a different method, a different kind of business than the previous one, right? Because you're learning 2 kinds. So for a sole proprietorship, it's just an individual doing business. So it's an individual doing business. Now the example is going to again highlight that quality, and often in contrast to the first example. So just waving at everybody. Belmora, hello. Carla, hello. Great to have you all here. Rania, Mijen, Mijena, Jumin. So the example would be, however, in a sole proprietorship, if the business loses money and goes bankrupt, the owner, the individual, can be sued to get that money back, right? So this example illustrates the difference. The corporation, business loses money, none of the owners can be sued. The business goes bankrupt and disappears because the business is its own entity. An entity is a unique key word. It means it exists by itself. But again, the words that you hear that you don't understand, you want to be comfortable you're going to get those. They're going to be explained and defined. You take your notes the best you can, and you say it the best you can. And if you really miss the word completely, you just give a synonym of it. Like, for example, the first kind of business, or it's a legal thing if you don't know entity, but you always try, because it's okay to try and to mispronounce, because those are special key words. So the graders, in my experience, they're not paying attention to that as much as everything else. So let's go ahead and break down the structure of question 4 once more. So for question 4, hello everybody, waving to Majid, Irene, Kims, Nasser, Lasha, EPD class online, welcome. So now let's go ahead and give an answer. Now again, on these Instagram lives, I don't have a timer. I want it to be a little bit more of something that just builds your fundamentals. So here we go. In this lecture, right, so you can hear me for that form of the template. It's very simple. In this lecture, the professor discusses businesses. He explains that they are made in different ways. The first way is as a corporation. He states that they exist as a separate entity. He gives an example of a corporation that loses money to illustrate this. If it loses all its money and goes bankrupt, because it is an entity by itself, the owners cannot be sued for the money. Second, another kind of business is a sole proprietorship. The professor explains that this is a business specifically connected to the owner. The professor explains that if a sole proprietorship loses money, goes bankrupt, the owner can be sued because the owner is connected to the sole proprietorship. And that's how the professor discusses these two types of businesses. So I want you to hear so many things about the example answer I gave. So let me wave to a couple of you coming in. RZ, Abella, House, Studious, Nabila, H-Vent, Rajesh. All right, Siba. So many names flashing, so I apologize. I know I'm mispronouncing many of them, but I'm happy you're all here. I hope it's helping. So you see the simple template, but the important explanation and the connection between the example and the definition, right? The explanation of the kind, the first kind, the second kind. So in this lecture, we also had the professor explains, the professor states, he or she says, the first kind. You want these to be very clear. Don't hide the organization. The first kind, which is defined as, or this is when, for example. The second kind, or second, for example, or to illustrate this. And that's how the professor explains the two kinds of businesses. We do want a conclusion. Again, on the TOEFL, things happen. So it might be that you go over time, or because you have the lecture, you take your notes, you have 20 seconds to prepare and look at your notes. You're always going to be asked to explain the two kinds of whatever it may be that the professor discussed. You follow this pattern and you have your 60 seconds to answer. So now we're going to go into the infinite practice where you really can, without a timer, and I need you to practice this because I know some of you are new. So this is really going to give you an easy time mastering question number 4. And some of you have been on the TOEFL journey for some time. So you're probably feeling maybe some frustration because you've been studying hard, but you haven't noticed improvement. You're still stressed. You're finding it difficult to speak under the timed conditions. Doing the exercise I'm going to share with you now, if you do it 15-20 minutes every other day, it's going to help you for question 4 and every question. So, are you ready for it, everybody? Makes sense? Let me know in the comments. The initial structure of question 4, the template, everything clear? You saw how I spoke, calm, focused, making the connections step by step with the template? Let me know, everybody. Waving to you all, happy you're here. Fly Keen, Sahar, good. Wado, good. Mariana, yes. High five to you. Okay. So, you're ready for the infinite practice, right? So here's what I want you to do right now. This is really important. You could do this anytime. You can do this when you're reading a nonfiction book. My students, I make that your homework to improve. You can do it when you're reading an article, when you're watching a YouTube video. So what I want you to do is just look at me, look at my background, and give me a noun. Give me a thing. Like just what you see on the screen with me right here. Just type one thing you see, and let's see what you come up with. Nafiz, Glory, Raksha, Singh, good to go, excellent, Danny, Isabella, Heva, love it. Mirror, window, grass. Look at that. Window, mirror, grass. This will challenge you. You may have to use your note paper and write it down to track your thinking. So let's look with mirror. I'm going to make it super simple. Okay? The professor is discussing mirrors. And I'm going to make this up a little bit, and you will too. You're just getting the format. The professor is discussing mirrors. She explains that that mirrors are made of unique chemicals that give it its reflective property. The first kind of mirror is made with a reflective film. These mirrors are often cheaper to manufacture. The professor explains that when you go to a regular store, any market, and you pick up a mirror, one that you can hold in the bathroom, that are often less than $10, they are this kind of mirror with a reflective film. Now, to level up, what did I say was a key quality? I actually gave two. But the first kind of mirror I said, actually I didn't give a key word, I didn't give a name, but the first kind of mirror has a reflective sheet of paper, or sheet, right? A reflective, not chemical, but sheet. What did I say it was? What did I say it was? And my example illustrated this. Adnan, welcome. Sibal, great comment. Qingyan, welcome. Now, the reflective film will say is the kind, right? Because I didn't give a specific keyword. I didn't say a affily mirror. Good, cheap, lower price. So you can predict that the next kind, what do you think it's going to be? How am I going to describe it? What do you think I'm going to say about the second kind? If I say the first kind is cheap, it's a reflective film that's cheap. Those are the two qualities, right? It's like the first kind is a reflective film. Like the first kind is a corporation. It's a legal entity all by itself. Expensive, I'm going to talk about price. So this is what's leveling you up. The professor is explaining what divides this topic into categories, right? First kind, second kind. And you can think about, like, if you divide your books into two categories, if you divide mirrors into two categories, if you divide a group of students into two categories, you're going to pick a quality to divide them. Taller, shorter, higher grades, lower grades, age, and then that's what divides the group. Pretty cool, right? So the TOEFL is going to be the same way. So then I can say the second kind of mirror is a mirror that is made with a special chemical that is quite expensive to manufacture, but makes the mirror last long. The professor gives an example of the kind of mirrors that you might see in museums or expensive restaurants that want to show quality. They don't buy the mirrors, or I wouldn't say the comparison, they buy the mirrors with the chemical qualities that make it last long, but that are often quite expensive. And then that's how the professor discusses the two kinds of mirrors. So once you go through it, you're putting this together. I promise you, it's going to help you so much. You're going to be making it up. And what you do then is then you go over it. You just go over it and you see the structure and you listen to yourself. Are you speaking clearly? Are you speaking smoothly? Are you avoiding ums and uhs? So this gives you confidence and comfort, and you don't really need to bring in the timer, the 1 minute timer. You're just mastering the structure. You're mastering your speech. You're being clear. So I begin. In this lecture, the professor discusses mirrors. These are things that reflect our image back. and the professor explains that there are two kinds. The first kind of mirror has a reflective sheet, and according to the professor, they are very cheap to make. The professor provides an example of the kind of mirrors you find when you go to stores or markets, the ones you hold in your hand. They're often $10 or $20, like the professor said, and so because they use the reflective sheet. The second kind of mirror the professor explains is one that uses a special chemical that creates the reflection and that is very expensive as a result, but lasts a long time. The professor gives an example of the kind of mirrors you find in museums or in restaurants that are more expensive. The professor explains they purchase mirrors with this chemical so they look better and last longer. That's how the professor discusses two kinds of mirrors. And you see in the second mirror, I didn't just say that it was more expensive. I said it also lasted longer. So that happens on the TOEFL. Sometimes you get one quality for the kind, and sometimes you get two. So do you recognize you said mirror, and then I made that up? Now someone else, I'm going to give you another example, said grass. Now here's the super cool thing you can do. So who here, I'm going to be a little joke. Who here is familiar with Google and ChatGPT? Who here is familiar with that? I think pretty much in this day today, it would be pretty crazy that you're on Instagram and you're not familiar with both of those. So just let me know, who's familiar with Google and ChatGPT? Me or not me? Me or not me? Text me. And then Biada from Turkmenistan, great to connect with you. Good. So I think you're saying that you're re-preparing for the TOEFL. I hope this is helping you with question number 4. I'm happy to be connected with you as well. I wish you good luck with your studies, you and everybody. So me or not me, who's familiar? I just want to wave to everybody. I think it's always cool. Good, Kiki, excellent, you're familiar. Sahar, yeah, everyone's familiar. And Lama not me, don't worry. You can always now go on google.com. I think you're familiar with Google, maybe not ChatGPT, but either of those are sources of information. So you can Google kinds of mirrors. For those of you familiar with ChatGPT, you can say, what are the different kinds of mirrors, right? And then right away, you just get those and you allow that to inform you. And if you are studying the TOEFL, you know the common topics, especially if you're my students, because we talk about what are the common topics. Climate change. Well, for question number 4, it's psychology, business, advertising, animal biology, plant biology, geology. Those are big concepts. So another thing someone said was grass. Just looking back, right? So maybe the trees kind of look like grass or made you think of grass. So easy, right? In this lecture, the professor discusses grass. He explains that this is a small kind of herb-like plant that grows on the ground. And he explains, or she explains, you can play with it so you get comfortable with both pronouns. He explains that there are two kinds of grass. The first kind of grass, I'm going to make this up. So actually, I'm kind of making it up, right? Just allowing your brain to be creative, using what you've understood. So the first kind of grass is actually called bluegrass. And the professor explains this is because it has a special element in its material that gives it the color blue when it's looked at from a distance. The professor provides an example of a restaurant that wanted to look special compared to other restaurants in his neighborhood. And so what they did was they planted a row of blue grass in front of their restaurant to make them stand out. And that when the professor was walking, he was able to see the blue grass from a distance, and it attracted him to the restaurant. The second kind of grass is called all-year grass. The professor explains that this grass has a very deep green color, and that it lasts throughout the year, even in cold winters. The professor gives an example of the kind of grass that is often seen in national parks in the northeast of the United States, where the temperature drops significantly. He states that these grasses, when visitors come, can still be seen alive and dark green even in the coldest days of the year. And that's how the professor explains two kinds of grass. So you see how smoothly I go through this information. You see how clearly I'm working, and this is the way it helps. When you make the example, you have to think back to the definition you gave. When you make the second kind, and you give it the quality, you have to remember the first quality to create a connection. And that's really helping you develop a natural understanding of this question. So of course, when you get a real TOEFL question, when you practice, my students, when you practice our material, basically you're all my students, right? You're all watching. But I mean, those of you in the classes, the tutoring, the self-study material, if you do this and you get comfortable with it, you're going to be able to get that new question, and it's going to make so much more sense to you. It will still challenge you because there's stress. Maybe there's something a little complicated to understand. You have 20 seconds to prepare, 60 seconds to speak, so that might get your heart rate going. But if you practice this, I promise you'll start to feel confident. You'll start to know the structure. But the key is, for those of you who want to improve, you really want to keep doing this. 15 minutes every other day. You're in your car, you're walking around, maybe you're going for a walk, you're doing your dishes, you're doing your laundry, and just do it. It'll take you like 5-10 minutes, but it'll keep you fresh, it'll help you understand. And we have this for all 4 questions. So every Instagram live we do is on one different speaking question. Today was question 4. So in the next Instagram live in about a month, we'll probably go back to question 1 and teach that as well. So now you know, right? So did this help everybody? You now know question 4, you know its structure, you know the template, and you have infinite practice. Because some of you said window, easy, 2 kinds of windows, right? You could have said shirt, 2 kinds of shirt, teacher, 2 kinds of teachers, glasses, 2 kinds of glasses. You could have said, curtains, 2 kinds of curtains, trees, 2 kinds of trees. You might think that's a mountain, 2 kinds of mountains. The sky, well, you can't really say 2 kinds of sky. You might say atmosphere. For those of you more comfortable, 2 kinds of atmospheres. On this planet, we have one. On Mars, we have another. And you're doing 2 things. 1, you're just making it up. You're just making it up. And 2, you're going on Google or whatever resource, and just you think of your noun, like you look around your room, you see a printer, and then you say kinds of printers, right? You look around your room and you see room, 2 kinds of rooms, right? And then it's just, wow, I get it. It's not so difficult. And so I'm going to stay a little bit. If you have any general questions, let me know. I do want to invite you. That concludes the class. If you enjoyed this, and you're already studying, bravo. We have our January Gold course coming. We have our Espresso Shot class coming. That's a 2-hour class where I do an extra topic to build your underlying TOEFL skills. That's going to be next Saturday. We're going to release that soon. So that's actually going to be on using ChatGPT to help you with the TOEFL. And there's some incredible ways that we've seen it can help you. So many of you are already using it. And in the class, we're going to do it to train, to improve our grammar for the writing, to improve our skills for the speaking. It's going to be fantastic. So we'll release that information soon. You'll see it on your Instagram posts. And then also we have our January Gold course. It's going to start after the new year. It's going to be a 6-week course, 24 hours on all 4 sections. So we're going to release that within the next few days. So you'll see that post as well. But I invite you to, if you're not already studying, to click on the link in our bio, write review, because we have our self-study TOEFL courses, our complete diamond course, we have our updated ultra fast course. So for those of you taking the TOEFL soon, within, 16, 18 hours. You can be prepared. I guide you through all sections. There are class recordings there that are very, very helpful, guide you through all the practice and get you ready for your TOEFL, so you can check that out. And our free course. If you're not already part of the free course or updated free course, practice on all questions and all sections. I think you're going to find it super helpful so you understand and master your TOEFL. So all that if you click the link in our bio. And I want to highlight something too. If you visit our site, for everybody, just a good reminder for everybody, if grammar is an issue for you, if you find it sometimes difficult when you write, and if you are attending my classes or the self-study material and you find some of the explanations are tricky because we talk about noun clauses, adverb clauses, subject, verb, object for strategy for the reading, don't forget to be studying your grammar 1 to 4 hours a week. So ideally, you're studying our grammar course, our dual grammar course, but any course works as long as it's this full grammar for academic English. So that way you have what you need to improve. And I promise you, you study your 12 to 24 hours plus a week. That's an ideal amount of study time to really make big improvements. 12 to 24 hours a week. You don't give up. You keep attending as you are, and we will succeed. We will succeed. I appreciate every one of you. Let's see some comments that came in. Let me wave to everybody. So Mansoor, hello Joseph, hope you're doing well. I'm a TOEFL student. I have a problem with note taking. So quick advice on note taking. Note taking really is writing down keywords from what you understood when you were listening that help you remember what you understood. So trouble with note taking is when you're trying to write down what you hear and you're not concentrating on understanding. You're just concentrating on trying to catch everything. That's going to give you a lot of trouble. So you actually have to, sometimes I give an exercise, you take a deep breath and maybe don't take any notes. Don't take any notes and just listen. Listen to a video, listen to a lecture, TOEFL lecture, could be a YouTube video, an academic video, 5 minutes, and just close your eyes and listen to remind yourself that is what you have to do. You have to visualize and work to understand what you're hearing. That'll recenter you that my goal is comprehension. Then, from what you comprehend, you write down the key words to help you remember. Notes are a memory tool. So this way you reconnect yourself with what's the ideal. And if you're taking so many notes that you start to get distracted, you stop taking notes. If you're not following the lecture well, you stop taking notes. Comprehension is number one. So I hope that helps. Of course, we have more training, but this is what is going to help you immediately. I hope that helps. Belmora, hello from Georgia, USA. Hello. I need to pass TOEFL to take the FPGEE, right? Pharmacist, you need your 26 plus on the speaking. I'm delighted to be in the class. I'm delighted to have you. And please do this practice with question 4. For so many of you, you all want top scores. So this kind of practice is essential to get you comfortable and confident. So I'm going to have to go a little faster, but I'm going to try to wave to as many of you as possible. Sorry if I missed you, but I'm happy that you're all in the class. I hope you found it beneficial. Let me know. Love those hearts coming in. Appreciate every one of you, right? We're working hard to succeed. Ooh, that was nice. Someone just blew up a bunch of hearts. That's awesome. And then Mansoor, how does ChatGPT help us in the TOEFL? The major things I'm going to cover is with the right prompts, you can have it edit your writing, but in a very clean way. So it's just modifying grammatical errors, spelling issues, and punctuation. And then you can have it explain to you the corrections that it's made. We're also, it's new, so we're playing with it. That's one major way that it's going to help you. Another way is what I said, where it's a resource where you can use it just like YouTube or Google to learn about topics, but it's often presented to you in a much smoother way. So, of course, you have to read, which is good to train you for the reading, but you can build a lot of mastery with common topics. It's also a wonderful resource to start building your vocab, because it's much easier to search a definition in ChatGPT than in Google. And then, however, some words you still want to use Google to use images. So it's like one other resource that you don't want to be the only resource, but it's like, oh, this is another tool in the toolbox. And so we're going to have a class where it's just on the side, we're using it, we're training some TOEFL skills, but we're understanding how to use it. And I'm still framing that class, we'll release it soon. So I think that covers it for today. Let me go down here. You see, Mansoor, how should we bump up our vocabulary? I think you should have a notebook. And if you're studying for the TOEFL, guaranteed, you're going to be learning 3 to 7 new words a day, and you write them down and you track them. Because as you're studying, you're researching new topics. I mean, instantly you're going to be building your vocab. It's a very natural, normal, fast way to build it. And Saint Akbar, hello Joseph, how to improve note-taking and integrated writing. I found a little bit difficult than listening note-taking. Well, it's actually similar to question number 4, because in writing question number 1, we can't get into it in too much detail here, but I hope it helps you. When you know the structure and you know what to expect, it makes it easier for you to follow and take notes. So in question number 1 of the writing, you read an article that's 4 paragraphs. It introduces the author's usually opinion about something, and then 3 arguments of support for that opinion. The professor in the lecture opposes each one by one and directly counters the author. So whatever the author's reason, if the author's reason is that, let's say, you should buy expensive mirrors because they last long, the professor will say expensive mirrors don't last long. In fact, they often break and crack within a short period of time because of X, Y, Z. So what that means is your reading helps you predict the lecture, follow more easily. And because you know that you have to explain how the lecture opposes the reading, that can help you understand what to take notes on. And sometimes, for everybody, all my continuing students know that I always say that in order for you to improve, it takes hours of study. So sometimes it's not going to be, oh, I heard that tip, now my problem is fixed. Sometimes that happens. But often, oh, I heard that tip, I'm going to write it down in my notebook, I'm going to study and practice that for several hours, 2, 4, 6 hours, and then I have the improvement that I want. And you got to be open, because sometimes it takes it's an intense skill that you want to build, so it doesn't take 6 hours, it takes maybe 12 or 15. It all depends on where we are. But the key is, once you get that thing that makes sense, study, 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 and then you're going to get the improvement. So I appreciate you. I'm happy you're here, everybody. My apologies if I didn't wave to you. A lot of great questions. Varun, speaking task 1. Don't have time for it now, but we can do it. And check out the free course, right? Or check it. Just click the link in the bio, see what works for you. We have free training on the site itself for all 4 speaking questions. We have training, we have example answers in the free course. So anybody who needs help, click the link in the bio for more, or direct message us. So it's a pleasure being here with you. Happy Saturday, happy holidays, study hard, end the year strong. Until next time, bye-bye everybody. Good job today with your energy and your focus. It was a pleasure. Thanks for all those hearts. Send them right back to you. So until next time, bye-bye everybody. Our success is coming. Keep studying hard. We can do it.